So, welcome to the next edition of the Rare Business Podcast. This week, my conversation comes from Las Vegas, where I recently attended Pegasystems' customer event, PegaWorld, where I had a chance to speak to a number of different people, including this week's guest, Don Sherman, the CTO of Pegasystems. Now, over to the conversation. Welcome, Don Sherman. Sherman, CTO and VP of Product Marketing from Pega. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Don, for the benefit of our listeners and readers, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and the work that you do and what you, what you get involved with?
So I'm really responsible for product go-to-market, product strategy, and product positioning at Pega. I work very closely with our product management teams, our product engineering teams, and our marketing and sales teams around how we bring our product to market, what technologies in the industry we really need to be looking at, how we position ourselves in the industry. My background has been 20 years in the enterprise software business, whether it's delivery. I spent a decent amount of time as an actual coder, writing code. And then I have a number of years sort of doing pre-sales and sales consulting, working on the sort of technical side of selling.
Okay. So the thing so we're here at PegaWorld. You are MC for the show, so you're always up there kind of getting the crowd warmed up and all sorts of different things. And really looking forward to Sheryl Crow and chess matches, but also the Hakkasan sort of like finale.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Don is going to get insanely drunk, probably, or wear a kind of silvery jacket or something.
It'll be the one night that I know I don't have to get up at 5 a.m. the next morning.
There you go. So, but the thing I want to ask you about, because the conferences we're talking about all sorts of things like kind of artificial intelligence, CRM, engagement, data privacy, choice, all these different things, and the maelstrom that is technology and service and experience and stuff. But from what you're seeing and what you're hearing, I think one of the things I would be interested to hear is what do you think companies should be doing kind of more of and what they should be doing less of, because there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of hyperbole and there's a lot of stuff, but being right in the middle of it, what are you seeing that you think they should be doing more of that because that works, and do less of that because that's a bit of a rabbit hole sort of thing?
I think that companies have been most successful in this customer engagement space when they pick a journey and attack it.
Okay.
So we heard
that could be one of many journeys.
That could be one of many, right? But I think one of the dangers of all of these sort of transformational things is the classic analysis paralysis model, where I spend a lot of time sort of talking or planning or thinking, and we've got to get our data ready and we need to have a mobile strategy, which I think all of those things are useful, but the companies that I see drive real success pick just a journey and go and put something in place, knowing that it's not going to be 100% perfect. It's going to be a significant improvement on what the customer experience is today, and probably a significant operational improvement on what they have today. But then they've sort of crossed over into that actioning space, and they can start iterating, and they can start trying, and they can learn, and they can experiment. And whether that's a journey, based on, you heard from Sprint. Sprint started on this journey of, look, when a customer calls in and wants to cancel, how to retain them more effectively.
Sure.
Right? Let's go solve that problem. That's a meaningful problem for my business. That can have a meaningful impact on my customer engagement. And then from that, now I can start looking at, okay, how do I sell more products to existing customers? How do I start acquiring new customers? But until you take that first step, to my mind, that's when you get there. We heard last year from Cisco at PegaWorld, very similar approach, but a little bit more down the sort of process line. How do I take a process of fulfilling a complicated order and make that simple? Make it so it takes fewer touch points for the customer, yay customer experience, and fewer involvement from our people, yay operational efficiency, right? It's a double win, but it only happens when I say, okay, I'm going to start here.
So how do you pick, but when you do that on that, so you go, I'm going to start here.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people, people will talk about, back to your point of analysis paralysis, people are like, right, great, I'll pick one.
Yep.
Which one? And so where should they pick? Should they just go let's relate this to there's a problem that we have in our business, and that's probably our most painful thing, and we should pick the journey that's related to that, or should we build on something that is the most successful journey or the easiest journey and the thing that we think there's most value in, and start with that? I mean, what are you seeing in terms of how people pick, or is it just a bit random sometimes?
I think people do best when they pick an outcome they want to improve. Right. So that that could be finding in Sprint's case again, churn.
Yeah.
Big challenge for the business. Got to fix it.
Always been a challenge for telecoms.
For telecommunications, and it's going to continue to be a telecom. The ironic thing in the telco business is that the stealing of the spokesperson is a perfect metaphor for the telco business in and of themselves, right?
Yeah.
They're just stealing each other's people back and forth. But picking the outcome that you want to make better, and that outcome, the nice thing about starting with the outcome is it gets some of the tech. I'm not thinking about the tech. I'm not thinking about the process. And I instantly define myself something measurable.
Yeah.
OCBC, which is a bank we've worked with in Singapore, they started with the outcome of we want to onboard customers more effectively when they walk into the branch to set up an account. So that's a measurable outcome, and they pick that by doing just enough analysis that they can make a reasonable guess.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you hear, sort of fail fast or fail forward or whatever, the organizations need to be willing, I think, in this agile model to get it mostly right.
Yeah.
I don't need to pick the exact right outcome, but if I pick the mostly right outcome, the sheer act of implementing something to solve that problem will probably teach me the other things I need to know.
Yeah. There's a favorite, one of my favorite stories kind of recent months is from a financial services company who are going through their own sort of service, agile service kind of transformation sort of model. And so they brought in a big data analytics team. They were going to gather all the data and crunch all the data and identify where all the kind of big kind of problems were going to be. So they did that, came in, gathered all the data, and then went off to do their kind of work. And then some bright spark turned around and took about 8 to 10 agents off the front line, put them in a room, bought them tea and coffee and a tray of donuts, and in 30 minutes they had the list of the top 10 customer problems that they had faced. And then 6 weeks later, the data and analytics kind of team came back to tell them that the agents were 80% right. And so the question has to be, do you want to wait? Do you want to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours, thousands and thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever, to wait 6 weeks to know that your agents, which took 30 minutes and a tray of donuts, were 80% correct?
Well, and you know what we see customers do, and again, it's for some reason it's so counter sometimes to the prevailing view. Take 2 or 3 of those best agents and put them on the project.
Yeah.
Train them in the technology, because chances are they probably are decent technologists because they figured out your systems, right, that they have to work in order to be successful.
The workarounds and everything
Yeah, they
else.
figured out the workarounds, right? So train them in the technology and put them on the project.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you have people who live this stuff every day giving voice. And if you want to really do Agile or Scrum or these iterative things, once you put people who know it into the project team, what you're able to do, just you can laser focus on stuff that has an impact.
Yeah, it's not academic anymore. It's like it's real. Somebody's going to go in, oh, well, if I'm going to be using that day in, day out, that's not going to fly.
Right. Well, and the other thing you're doing, which is you're also providing an incredible career opportunity to somebody, and so there's just this win-win for the organization and the individual that I think is a great opportunity.
So that is interesting, because that speaks to this whole thing around, we've seen, I mean, I've written about it before, I mean, starting kind of like with last year, and then I've seen more and more research kind of come out of it about this idea about striking the right sort of balance between human touch and technology in the customer experience. And it seems like there's many firms that have overshot their investment in technology to deliver their customer experience, and that they're getting challenged that it's becoming dehumanized, and then a lot of customers are up in arms and going, I just want to talk to somebody, please help me. I mean, how do you think companies should be going about trying to striking that sort of kind of balance, because it's delicate and it's going to be ongoing and it's going to go up and down sort of thing, and will probably differ according to different sort of demographics and groups in different parts of the life cycle.
I think there's a degree to which the technology can't go back in the Pandora's box, and to some degree, when people complain about missing the human touch, I think that sometimes they're complaining about something that we probably aren't going back to. And that's the model that when you had a community bank and you knew the manager of the bank, and the manager of the bank knew your parents, and the manager of the bank had opened your first sort of passbook savings account, and you had that person to call every time something went wrong. And not just through technology, but just simply the way that organizations have scaled and we've grown to more global multinationals. Even when you are talking to a human, it's very seldom, unless you're in the upper stratospheres of wealth management, that you're talking to the same human on an ongoing basis. So I think the opportunity for technology is, how do I use technology in such a way that no matter who in my business a customer might be talking to, that person is armed with what they need to engage that customer as an individual.
Yeah.
So we work with Royal Bank of Scotland, and one of the terms that they use is this concept of personology, and they talk about bringing banking back to the 70s. And what they mean is, how do we, in a very digital, very sort of expansive world, have the same relationships that our customers that we used to have when they had one guy they knew in the branch? And their solution was, look, if I can use technology to ensure that when somebody walks into the branch, no matter who is sitting there that day, they have recommendations of, here are the best ways to engage with that customer. And that isn't, nor is it all often, offer them something new. It might be simply as something to say of, hey, how you doing? Notice you haven't been in the branch in 2 weeks. Or happy birthday. Or wow, we noticed that you've been a customer for 5 years. Thanks. Right? Like those just simple little bits of engagement. And what that allows is the human being to not sort of be the powerless customer service representative who, let me transfer you to somebody or ask my manager, but they're now empowered to actually have that engagement that people want.
But do you think taking the banking sort of example, so if I think about my mother and father, which is all within all this, it's ironic. There's all these developments around the digital channels, modern technology, and so on and so forth. And there's even more talk around about the impact of the millennial generation, and then Gen Z coming on, and so on and so forth. But what's ironic within all of that, I think, is that those generations are not the generations where all the wealth and disposable income kind of lie.
Right.
And my challenge is that it seems that there's possibly companies are possibly missing an opportunity to really talk to the wealthy generation, which are the baby boomers, who aren't digital. They're not really. They are adopting new technology, and they are adopting digital channels, but not as fast as many companies would actually kind of want. And I think that kind of seems to be where the friction is taking kind of place.
Yeah, and I think also the important thing is for organizations to understand that the digital channel is a complement to their existing channel, not a replacement to their existing channel. And that the world that I believe we are moving to is not a digital channel world, it is an omni-channel world, or we sometimes use the idea of it's a channelless world. Customers don't think, hey, I'm going to now engage with my bank on the mobile channel, or I'm going to go have a retail experience with my telecommunications provider, right? They just go up, buy a Sprint store, I'm going to walk in, right? So how can I use technology to ensure that no matter what channel that customer hits me on, because I can't predict it, right? But no matter what channel that customer hits me on, they can have an experience that is personalized to them and makes it easy to do the thing that they want to do, right? And if I can do that in the technology, right, I can thread that needle of delivering a great experience, empowering my people, and driving cost out of my operation.
Sure. Okay. So then that brings me to another sort of like a bit more of a leading edge sort of question, and I think we've still got a little bit of time. And something that I've been thinking about is that, with the impact of more data and privacy and security and personalization and customization, and then all these new tools like behavioral science and nudging people to do different sort of things, different actions, and then the impact of behavioral design and all these different sort of things. There's a rising ethical dimension to this whole sort of thing, because this is powerful stuff that companies have got their powerful tools that companies have got their hands on. So, I mean, be interested to hear your kind of view around how does that work in the whole, I don't know, the kind of the customer experience kind of world. Is it that we just going to have a statement of ethics or a code of conduct, or and how I don't know. Do we need to just be more aware of some of the choices that we make and the outcomes that they produce, particularly inside companies?
Yeah, so I would offer sort of 3 pillars. And I don't know if I have a solution, or I don't know if this becomes a consortium, but I would offer 3 pillars that I think organizations should think about. So first one is transparency, right? I think we need to be upfront with consumers about how this is being used. I don't think consumers mind talking to a chatbot if you tell them they're talking to a chatbot.
Sure.
And not try to fool them into thinking they're talking to a person.
Yeah.
Right? We know how to talk to Alexa now. We know how to talk to Siri. By the way, we don't talk to Alexa and Siri like we do talk to a real person. Right? We naturally shift. So it's okay. Let a consumer know that. Right? I think it's okay to let a consumer know that we've recommended this product for you. Right? And here's the reason why. Right? I think if you are being transparent, you eliminate a large chunk of sort of the ethical conundrum.
Right.
I think the second pillar is this stuff needs to be governed. And data-driven analytics and data-driven decision-making should never be run outside of the context of a human-gated governance, right? And I think you see the classic example that everybody brings up is Microsoft's racist chatbot gone wild, right? If you have things totally driven by data, data can lead you to optimal yet non-ethical things. But if I design my decision model in such a way that, I'm going to use some machine learning algorithms to predict likelihood of churn and a predictive model to recommend products, but I'm also going to have the humans who run my business put in a series of gates and strategies on that say, never offer this kind of product to a customer whose credit score is below that. And if a customer recently bought a product, don't hit them with something 2 days later, even if you think that you might be able to sell it. And so there has to be a place for the business to put their judgment in and really put a stake in the ground of sort of what their values of an organization are. It can't just all be about the data. And then the third thing is it's got to be good. If you are recommending things to a customer that fit their needs, make their lives easier, if you're doing things that actually simplify their experience, they won't mind. The classic example, every time I land in Europe, my telco provider drops me a text message that says, hey, by the way, you're in Europe. Here's the calling and texting rates. If you would like, for $20 per month for 1 month, you can turn on unlimited calling in Europe while you're here. Do you want to do that? Text yes. Right? And every time it happens, I happily text yes. The great thing is they don't try to charge me past that month. They were completely transparent about what they did. And rather than waiting for me to call them angrily about why is my phone bill so, they proactively gave me something I needed on a channel that was easy and direct and simple. I'm more than happy with that kind of engagement. So if we do things that are good, that make the customer experience better, I think customers are going to accept them. So if we're transparent, if we govern it with human judgment, and if we do things that actually make the experience better for customers, I think we have a good shot of walking the right side of the ethical line.
Perfect. Don, thank you. I know you've got to run to kind of to your next thing, but it's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. All righty.